make an animated GIF using a very basic PSD file. So I've given you a sample file called animated GIF PSD. The first thing you want to do after you open the file, you want to go to your Windows, go to your workspace, and go to Motion. And actually for this part of the demo, try to just watch what I'm doing. And then because I'll go through the steps since I'm recording this, and then I'll stop and I'm going to help you with all the steps. So that's the first thing that you want to do. And you also want to make sure that you have your layer panel kind of further up in your document. And as you could see, let me just make this a little smaller. I have each of the items that I have on my page are on their own individual layer. So I have like a little rectangular orange box. Then I have my first name and my last name all on their individual layers. I'm going to make this a little smaller. So we can create very basic animation just in staying using Photoshop tools. So once you create the whatever design you want to have for your banner or your logo, and they should probably be just vector items as opposed to photographs, you'll see that under the motion panel that you selected, Photoshop completely reformatted the tools, and you actually have options for each of your layers are reflected in these timeline purple color palettes that we're looking at right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually just delete these items. Well, let me see. I'm gonna delete the animation. So what I'm gonna do is click on this icon to the bottom far left. There's like 3 little boxes, and when you click it, it's gonna change the timeline keyframe to frame-based format. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. And basically what I want to get rid of this entire animation and start from scratch. So I'm going to highlight these items, click the trash bin, and again highlight, go to the very end of my animation, highlight, treat the trash bin. The reason I'm showing you this is that once you make an animation, you can always go back using either the timeline, go back to the keyframe, and modify your animation. So right now I have basically this one frame. As you could see, there's like, you can see a tiny piece of the orange here. And the way that animated GIF work is by, if you turn on the actual layers, they become visible and they start to get recorded, and when you turn them off, basically that means that it's no longer is being recorded. Once I delete everything, or if you, let's say you want to go back and modify things, you want to go back to the bottom of the timeline, and again there is, instead of the 3 little boxes, I have a horizontal, 3 horizontal lines and 1 vertical line. So you want to click back on that option. So this is, again, we're working off the timeline right now. I'm going to go ahead and go back down to the rectangular orange. I'm going to move it out of the frame a little bit, hit there, and I'm going to highlight the position and the opacity. Okay, I'm going to highlight the position and the opacity, and we're not going to worry about the style at this point, but later I'll show you how you can actually modify that too. Now, I'm going to go back to the end of my timeline for the rectangular, and I'm going to click the position again. So I have another keyframe for the position, and using your arrow keys, the right arrow, I'm going to move that into the frame. So now this is what my animation looks like. So if I want to have it so that it is it is not visible in the beginning. You can do it a couple of different ways. You can click on the specific style that's you fade it in over time, and basically you can just drag a filter and fade your item in. And see how as I'm dragging it now, it's kind of fading into the frame. And if you double click that item, you'll see that you can actually modify that by making the fade longer or making the fade shorter. It's simply like dragging these options here. So let's say I have my orange box revealed into the frame, and I'm going to, so as you could see, I want the box to come in, and then I want my name to reveal. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to my name, my first name first, Ellie, and I'm gonna do the opacity, and so I'm gonna just animate the opacity and the position. So I'm gonna make a keyframe over here and make sure there's like, I'm gonna make my name visible, and I make sure the opacity is set to 0. And when I get maybe over here, I'm gonna make another keyframe, and I'm gonna make the opacity to come to 100. So now, and I can position it however I want. And I can move this around, just, you know, if I want to modify the position, I can do all that. I'm gonna do the same exact thing with my last name. Then maybe when, again, you want to make sure you have your time indicator inside the location where you want the name to start to appear. You want to make sure you actually have a keyframe for opacity, and then change the opacity in your layers to 0, and then go back to a different place in time and change this to 100. And again, you might have to come back and sort of make some modifications. So now I can see that my name, I need to change the positioning of my name, so I can actually come back and physically just do that and put it where I'm happy with. I'm gonna move this back. So let's say I'm happy with this animation here. So basically this is what it's gonna look like. It comes in, the name shows up, fades in and fades out, and so forth. So this is a very basic type of animation. So once you have everything taken care of as far as your layers are concerned, and you're happy with the outcome, we want to go to, you want to save your file, and make sure you save it in a folder that you should already create that would contain your PSD file as well as your HTML files and so on. So now I'm going to go ahead and export this animation. So export is going to be saved for the web. And so again, you want to make sure it's GIF. It needs to be 256 colors, but I mean right now I don't really need 256 just because I have, well, because I have, actually I take that back, because I have the items fading, then I do need the 256 colors. That's the maximum colors that animated GIF supports. At the bottom here, you want to tell it, so it gives you a bunch of options. It says, okay, it's 800 by 600. And down here, I'm trying to make this a little smaller. I can't make it any smaller. Anyways, you'll see at the very bottom, it says looping options. You want to make sure you can have it so it plays only once, or you can have it so it loops forever. I'm going to just leave it for loops forever. And unfortunately, I can't. At the very bottom, you have an option that says save. You want to click the save button, and then here you want to navigate to the folder that you created. And just because I want to show you how it looks like, I want to click HTML and images, and you want to say save. And I already had the file, so it's asking me to replace. But when you do it for the first time, it's not going to ask you to replace. So I'm gonna do that, and now if I come back here, if I double click it, that's basically how it's gonna play on a browser. Okay.